and welcome to this Design Cuts video tutorial. Today we're going to look at installing brushes that you have downloaded from the Design Cuts website. Now I'm going to be using this set of brushes. It's the Doodle Hearts Clip Art brushes. These brushes come in what's called an ABR file. They're stamp brushes. So they don't paint like regular paint brushes. You're going to sort of stamp the hearts onto your document. And I'm going to show you in this video how to get those brushes installed. So once you've downloaded your file, you're going to unzip it. They come as a zip file. You'll just double click on the file and it will unzip. In a Windows machine, you're going to have to click to expand the zip file. On a Mac, it's just going to unzip for you automatically. So once they're unzipped, you're going to Photoshop. But before we head to Photoshop, I just want to explain something to you. So there are three methods to install brushes in Photoshop. And method one is the one that people typically use. It's quick and easy. It's not so robust though. My concern with it is if you reset your Photoshop preferences, which you are often advised to, if you encounter difficulties with Photoshop, you might lose these brushes from your brushes panel and you're going to have to reinstall them, and you may come up against the problem as to where those brushes are because you're going to install them using this method just from your downloads folder. So there's a second method which is relatively easy and robust. Again, if you use this method, you might lose your brushes from the brushes panel if you reset your preferences, but installing them is easy. Now the third method is actually probably the recommended method, but it does require a knowledge of your operating system because the brushes are going to be installed in a hidden location. It's extremely robust. If you reset your preferences again, you might lose the brushes from the brushes panel, but installing is going to be dead easy. Now I'm not going to cover this because this requires knowledge of your operating system, but if you are interested, then the locations that you will be installing those brushes on a Mac and on a PC are in the description below. So I'm going to show you methods 1 and 2, but I strongly suggest that method 2 is probably the better of them to use. I'm here in Photoshop on a PC, and method 1 for installing brushes is to click a brush tool. This brush tool here is fine. Click the down pointing arrow to open up the panel here. Click the gear icon and then click import brushes, and then you're going to locate the brushes that you have expanded, and mine are in my downloads folder. So here is the folder of the brushes that I downloaded, and we'll go into the brushes subfolder, and this is the ABR file. That's the one that you're going to install, and Photoshop's already looking for it. So click on it and click load. And then those brushes will be loaded into Photoshop, and here are the Doodle Hearts brushes that we can now select from. But as I said, there is a risk that you might lose those brushes. So this is my recommended method. And what I'll do is first of all close down Photoshop, and I'm going to open up Windows Explorer. Now this is Windows Explorer on my Windows 7 computer. On your computer it might be called File Explorer or something a little bit different. I'm going to my Downloads folder, I'm going to the Expanded folder and going all the way into Brushes. I'm going to locate my ABR file again, right click it and just click Copy. Now I want to take it to a location that Photoshop knows about. So I'm going to my computer here, I'm opening up C drive and I'm going to Program Files. I'm going to select Adobe here, and I'm going to select my version of Photoshop. In this case, it's CC 2019, but you need to match it with the version that you're currently using. Then I'll double click on Presets, and then double click on Brushes. And there are a couple of brush sets here that are installed with Photoshop. So I'm just going to right click and choose Paste. So the brushes are now pasted here. So I'm going back to Photoshop and I'm going to reopen Photoshop. Now let's go back to the brushes panel. When I click the gear icon, you'll see that Doodle Hearts is in the list here. It's alongside the brushes that are installed with Photoshop. So you can always access this because this is not going to be lost if your preferences file is deleted and for some reason you lose your brushes from the brush panel here. So that's a nice safe place to put it. Now if you go the techie route, this is where your brushes are going to end up. It's in a slightly different location, but you'll find them here. And again, you're not going to lose these brushes in this list here if you delete your preferences file and if the brushes are lost from this panel. So that is the safer method. You can use the method I've just shown you or go the techie route using the links in the description below. So that's how you do it on a PC. So let's swing across to the Mac and have a look and see how it's done there. And then at the very end of this video, I'm going to show you just really quickly how you can actually use these brushes. So I've got Photoshop open here on my Mac, and to install the brushes we're going to click on the brush tool and then just select this drop down arrow to the immediate right of the brush that is currently selected. Go to the gear icon and click Import Brushes. Locate your Downloads folder and then follow the path to the brushes that you just downloaded and expanded, and here is the folder. I'll go to brushes and this is my Doodle Hearts brush set. I'll click it and click open. And these brushes are now installed in Photoshop. They're accessible down here. But as I said, that's not the most robust way of doing this. So let's see how we would do that. I'm going to start by closing Photoshop. And now you're going to locate the Photoshop icon here, but hold the Command key as you click on it. And what happens is that you get a new Finder window that is at the very location where that version of Photoshop is installed on your Mac. So you're going to double click Presets and then double click Brushes, because this is where you're going to put that brush, and this is the more robust of the two options. I'm going to need a new Finder window, so I'll choose File and then New Finder window. And this one, I'm going to locate my Downloads folder and that brush that I need to install. So I'm going across here to Brushes, and here is my Doodle Hearts brush. So all I'm going to do is copy it or move it into this folder. So I'm going to select to move it. So I'm just going to drag and drop it in here. I'm going to type my password, and that brushes file is now located alongside Photoshop's own brushes. So I can close this dialog and restart Photoshop. So exactly as it was on the PC, if I click the brush tool here and click the down pointing arrow to the immediate right of the currently selected brush and open up this gear icon, we'll see that the Doodle Hearts brush set is alongside Photoshop's own brushes. So even if we were to lose the brushes out of this brush panel for any reason, including resetting the preferences file, these brushes are always going to be accessible from here because this is not going to be lost. If you go the more techie route, then you would find that your brush would be installed at the very bottom here. Again, it's always going to be accessible to you, but there'll be a little sort of separator bar, and the brushes in the more techie area in your hidden library are going to be here. So that's how you install the brushes using methods 1 and 2 in Photoshop on the Mac. So let's swing back to the PC and see very quickly how you would actually use these brushes. And of course, these instructions will be the same regardless of whether you're using a PC or a Mac. I'm back in Photoshop now on the PC. I have a brand new document created and pink selected as my foreground color. I'll click on the brush tool and then click the down pointing arrow to the immediate right of the currently selected brush. Now I can go and pick up one of my heart brushes. So I'll click on this one. You can adjust the size of the brush by adjusting the slider here, but you can also do that using the open and close square bracket keys. I find that a little bit easier because it's a little bit easier for me to judge exactly how big my brush is. To paint with the brush, you're not going to paint as you might with a paintbrush, you're just going to stamp. So just click to stamp the brush on the work area, and then you can resize the brush and apply it additionally. So that's the basics of using the brushes that you have now successfully downloaded and installed in Photoshop. I hope you've enjoyed learning these Photoshop techniques. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this tutorial. Until next time, I'm Helen Bradley for Design Cuts.